Okay, so you know how sometimes you watch a drama and you see a familiar face and you're like, wait, haven't I seen them before? Like you almost feel like you know them, even though you obviously don't really.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
There are definitely some actors who just pop up in so many things that they become part of the landscape almost.
Exactly. And so today we're doing a deep dive on two actors who definitely fit that description. Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min.
And we're going to use their recent drama together, Love Next Door, sometimes called Mom's Friend's Son, as our kind of entry point.
But like you said, we're not just doing a simple recap here.
No way. We've got all sorts of sources to give us a really well-rounded picture. We've got basic actor profiles, obviously, dates and all that stuff.
Right. And synopsis for the drama.
And reviews, you know. Gotta see what the critics thought.
For sure. And to mix things up, we've also got some fun stuff like a YouTube video where Jung Hae-in reads his own Namawiki page.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, Namawiki is kind of like the Korean version of Wikipedia. It can be a bit of a rabbit hole.
Totally. And we also found a video summarizing Love Next Door. So yeah, lots to work with today.
It's really like assembling a puzzle. Each piece adds something new.
Okay, so I think we're ready to lay out our goals for this deep dive. First, we want to really get to know Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min as actors, where they came from, their career highlights, you know the whole story.
Exactly. And then we're going to look at their individual paths, what they did before Love Next Door, because everything they did led up to that point in a way.
Right, like what experiences did they bring to the table?
Totally. And then, of course, the final piece is the drama itself, Love Next Door, and their on-screen connection. How did their individual journeys come together in this project? Did it work? Did it not work? All that good stuff.
Let's start with Jung Hae-in. He was born on April 1st, 1988, which I think makes him 36.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, 36 years old, born right here in Seoul. His name in Hanja, which is the Chinese characters used in Korean, is Hae-in. And get this, his family background is pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Tell me more.
He's actually a descendant of Jung Yak-young.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, sixth-generation descendant. Jung Yak-young was a really important scholar during the Joseon dynasty.
I feel like knowing someone is descended from a major historical figure always adds a certain something to the story. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
I think it does. It's like an extra layer of context. Like, okay, they come from this lineage, this background.
Right. It makes you wonder if there's some sort of influence there.
Exactly. Anyway, so his parents are both in the medical field. His dad's an ophthalmologist.
Mm.
He even runs his own hospital in Ansan. And his mom is a pathologist working in Seoul. He also has a younger brother named Jung Hae-jun. Now, physically, he's listed as being like 178 centimeters tall and around 68 kilograms.
Mm.
Although I think in that Namawiki video he mentioned he's closer to 70 kilograms these days because he's been working out.
I love those little glimpses behind the curtain, the official profile versus the more casual, oh yeah, I've actually gained a bit of weight.
It makes him seem more real, right?
Yeah.
Not just some perfect celebrity image. So his blood type is A, if anyone's interested.
Gotta have that blood type info. It's like a key fact in K-dramas.
Uh-huh. So true. Oh, and here's another interesting detail. He's Catholic, and his baptismal name is Paul.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's not just a casual thing either. His family's been Catholic for a long time. It actually goes back to the persecution of their ancestors, including Jung Yak-young. So it's like a really deep-rooted part of his family history.
Wow. I did not realize that about Korean Catholics.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Okay, so after high school, he graduated from Kyungtaek University with a degree in broadcasting entertainment. And like a lot of male Korean actors, he completed his mandatory military service before he even debuted. He was an army sergeant.
I always find it interesting when actors have done their military service before they start acting. They come in with that life experience under their belt.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely adds a level of maturity, I think. So anyway, he was a driver in the Army, and then he signed with FNC Entertainment. And that brings us to his acting debut.
Okay, let's hear it.
So officially, his debut was in 2014 in the drama Bride of the Century. But technically, his first appearance was actually a year earlier.
Oh, really? Where was that?
He was in AOA's music video for MOEA. It was back in 2013.
Oh, wow. I'll have to check that out. I always love seeing those pre-fame appearances.
You can definitely see the potential even then. But he really started to get noticed in 2016. He had a special appearance in the drama Goblin as Choi Tae-hee. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Tae-hee Oppa. Everyone was talking about him after that.
Right. Even though it was a small role, he really made an impression. He was also in Nightlight around the same time, but That drama didn't really take off, so he didn't get the same level of attention. But then came a whole bunch of dramas where he really started to shine. There was While You Were Sleeping and Prison Playbook, both in 2017, and then, of course, Something in the Rain in 2018. That was a huge hit.
Something in the Rain was definitely a turning point for him. It really cemented his image as a leading man, especially in romantic roles.
Totally. And his chemistry with Son Ye-jin was just off the charts. People couldn't get enough of him.
It's amazing how those on-screen pairings can just capture the imagination. People root for them even off-screen.
It's so true. Anyway, after that, he did One Spring Night in 2019, which, again, was a super romantic, emotionally driven role. And then more recently, you've got DP, which came out in 2 parts, 2021 and 2023.
DP was such a different vibe. It was so intense.
Yeah, it was a really gritty look at military life. A far cry from those romantic roles he's known for. And then last year we had Love Next Door, which brings us back full circle to our topic today.
That's quite the drama resume. But he's not just a drama actor. He's done films, too, right?
Yeah. Tune In for Love in 2020 was really well received.
Yeah.
And this year he was in Veteran 2, which was interesting because it was his first villain role.
Oh, wow. That's a departure.
It was. And everyone's then praising his eye acting. Apparently he can convey a lot with just his eyes.
That's fascinating. It's like he's deliberately trying to break out of that romantic mold.
Right. It's like he's saying, hey, I can do more than just make you swoon.
And you know what? Good for him.
Exactly. It's great to see actors challenging themselves. Oh, and this is kind of a random fact, but one of our sources pointed out that he's played a soldier 4 times in dramas, and all of their last names start with the Korean letter wheat, and 3 of them end in "e." Just a funny little coincidence.
That is a funny coincidence. Maybe he's just really good at playing soldiers.
Maybe. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about some of the more personal stuff we gleaned from that Namawiki video. His nickname among Korean fans is Mr. Hae-in. It's basically just a shortened, more affectionate version of his name.
Oh, that's cute.
I know, right? It's very endearing. His MBTI is ENTJ, which is sometimes called the executive. But he said how it feels closer to being an introvert, and that he often gets INTP or ENTP as his result. He also said that he's more of a J, which is the judging type when he's working, all planned and organized, but that he's more of a P, the perceiving type when he's relaxed.
I can relate to that. Sometimes you have to be a different person at work.
Totally. He also mentioned that he debuted relatively late compared to some actors. He was 28 when he started, and he was very honest about his career. He said some projects did well and some didn't, but that his main focus is just on doing his best and enjoying the work.
It's a good attitude to have in such a competitive industry.
For sure.
Sure.
He also shared this funny story about being chubby in school and then losing a bunch of weight after his college entrance exams.
Yeah.
And apparently the whole acting thing happened kind of by chance. He was at an academy watching Dreamgirls and eating ice cream, and someone was like, hey, you should be an actor. And that was it.
Wow. Talk about a life-changing bowl of ice cream.
Seriously. Sometimes the biggest decisions come from the smallest moments.
I love that.
So anyway, he likes to sing. He often performs at his fan meetings. He even sang Yoon Jong-shin's Like It once. He's also a big foodie. He said he loves meat and bread and he eats a lot. But he also enjoys Korean food and cooking. His specialties are kimchi stew and soybean paste stew.
See, now we're getting to the important details.
Yeah.
The food.
Right. He did say he has to watch his weight, though, which is understandable in his line of work. And this is funny. There's this idea that he's chun, which means he looks younger than his age. It's something that people always point out.
Yeah, he definitely has a youthful look about him. It's those baby-faced genes.
They work for him. His motto is be happy, which he says basically means just lower your head a little.
I like that. It's very humble, very grounded.
Yeah. He seems like a very thoughtful person. He talked about how much he values learning and asking questions on set. And he really emphasizes collaboration with his fellow actors and the crew.
That's awesome. It takes a village to make a drama,
So true. He also has a very humble perspective on his career. He said he knows that an actor's usefulness isn't permanent, which I think is a really healthy way to look at it.
Yeah, the entertainment world can be so fickle. It's good to stay grounded.
He also said that he finds inspiration in respecting his seniors in the industry rather than feeling competitive or jealous, which I think is so refreshing.
It's easy to get caught up in the rat race, but it sounds like he's got his priorities straight.
Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about his role in Love Next Door. He played Choi Seung-hyo. The character is described as this really successful architect and CEO of this company called Atelier Inn. He's basically Mr. Perfect on the outside.
I'm sensing a but coming.
But of course, there's more to him than meets the eye. He's also a childhood friend of Bae Seok-ryu, which is Jung So-min's character. And he's got all these issues stemming from being abandoned by his parents.
So there's that hidden vulnerability.
Exactly. And it's interesting because, he's built this image as this romantic lead, but then he goes and does Veteran 2, where he plays a villain. It's like he's trying to show different sides of himself.
Which is great. Actors shouldn't be pigeonholed.
Okay, so speaking of Jung So-min, let's talk about her now. She was born on March 16th, 1989, so she's 35 years old right now. Her birth name is Kim Yoon-ji, and she's from Seoul, too.
Another Seoul native.
And here's something interesting. Her family clan is also Na-jujo.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same as Jung Hae-in's, although they're from different branches.
Wow. That's a cool little connection. I wonder if they knew that before they worked together.
That's a good question. I don't know if they've ever mentioned it. But anyway, Jung So-min is 165 centimeters tall and weighs around 47 kilograms, blood type A. She graduated from the Korea National University of Arts with a major in acting and art history. And get this, she actually took a break from acting in 2011 to focus on her studies.
That's impressive. It shows real dedication. Like she wasn't just going to coast on her acting career.
Right. It shows a certain seriousness about her craft.
For sure.
So her debut was in 2010 in a drama called Bad Guy. It was a supporting role. But the same year, she got her first lead role in the Korean adaptation of Itazura na Kiss, which they called Playful Kiss.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It was huge internationally, even though it didn't do as well in Korea itself.
It's funny how that happens sometimes. A drama can be a total flop in Korea,
Yeah.
but then become a sensation overseas. So since then, she's done a bunch of notable dramas. My Father is Strange, and Because It's My First Life, which is kind of a modern classic. Those were both in 2017.
I still see people talking about Because This Is My First Life. It really struck a chord.
It did. And then she did Alchemy of Souls in 2022. And of course, last year she was in Love Next Door with Jung Hae-in. She's also done some films. Love Reset came out last year, and Project Wolf Hunting was in 2022.
It's a good mix of dramas and movies.
Yeah, and this is cool. In 2018, she even hosted her own radio show. It was called Jung So-min's Young Street. It's great to see her branching out like that.
Totally. It shows she's not afraid to try new things. Okay, so in Love Next Door, she played Bae Seok-ryu. Who is Bae Seok-ryu?
So she's this former project manager who decides to come back to Korea for a fresh start.
Ah, so she's kind of hitting the reset button on her life.
Exactly. She's dealing with burnout and some personal stuff. And this is a big one. She's also been living with a cancer diagnosis for 3 years secretly. So, yeah, her character has a lot going on emotionally.
Wow, that's a heavy secret to carry. It definitely adds a whole other layer to her story. Okay, so let's get into the drama itself.
All right, so Love Next Door is a romantic comedy. It aired on TVN and Netflix from August to October last year. 16 episodes total.
Good to know.
It was directed by Yoo Ji-won and written by Shin Ha-yoon. And guess what? They're the same team behind Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha.
No way. Really?
Oh, so you going in, it was probably going to have a similar feel.
I loved Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. I'm sensing good things about this one already. Did you know that the working title for Love Next Door was actually Mom's Friend's Son?
You're kidding.
Nope. It's very Korean, that whole comparing your kids.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a classic K-drama trope.
Yeah.
So what's the drama actually about then?
Okay, so basically it's about these two childhood friends, Choi Seung-hyo and Bae Seok-ryu. They reconnect as adults, and, well, their relationship starts to evolve.
Okay, so friends to lovers.
Pretty much. But there's a lot more going on, too. There's
Right.
love, friendship, family relationships, grief, identity, isolation.
A whole lot of life stuff going on there.
You got it. And, of course, Seok-ryu's cancer diagnosis is a big part of the story. It's like this underlying tension that affects everything.
And then you've got Seong-hyo dealing with his own emotional baggage from being abandoned and having this complicated relationship with Seok-ryu's mom.
Yeah, so both characters have their own demons to fight.
Right. And one of the themes that I thought was really interesting was this idea that being understood is even more important than being loved, which is
Yeah.
something to think about for sure.
That's a good one. I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, but did the chemistry work? That's the big question with any romance.
So for the most part, people really liked Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min together. They seemed very natural and comfortable with each other. But there were some people who thought their chemistry wasn't always consistent.
It happens. Even the best on-screen couples have their off days.
Yeah, and it's subjective too, right?
Mhm.
That what one person finds sizzling, another person might find lukewarm.
Absolutely. But it sounds like they had a pretty solid foundation. So who else was in the drama?
Well, there was Kim Ji-yeon, who played Kang Hae-suk, another childhood friend. She's a paramedic.
Ah, the dependable friend character.
Oh,
Always
good.
a good one.
And there was Yoon Ji-yeon as Young Dan-ho, who's a reporter. He and Hae-suk have their own little romance going on.
A side romance. I love those.
Me too. And like in Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, both Seung-hyo and Seok-ryu's parents play big roles in the story. It really adds to that sense of community that the drama is going for.
I like that. It's not just about the romance, it's about the whole support system around these characters.
Okay, so each episode was pretty long, like 70 to 80 minutes.
Hmm.
And the OST was really good. Kwon Jin-ah sang on it, and Jung Hae-in actually sang a song too.
No way! He's a triple threat. Acting, singing, cooking.
It seems like it. There were also songs by Ha Sung-woon and Zero Baseon.
Okay, I'm adding that to my playlist.
Viewership-wise, the drama averaged around 5 to 7% nationwide, which is pretty respectable. And the final episode got over 8%.
Not bad at all. Sounds like it was a pretty popular show. What did the critics think?
It was kind of a mixed bag, to be honest.
Yeah.
Some critics praised the chemistry between the leads and the emotional depth, but others thought the pacing was slow and they weren't sure about the cancer storyline. Some thought it was powerful and others thought it was unnecessary.
The classic too much melodrama argument. It's always a tough one.
It is. But the fans were really into it, especially online. There were a ton of discussions about the romance and the ending.
And of course, there were dating rumors.
Of course. It's practically a requirement for any on-screen couple with good chemistry. But neither Jung Hae-in nor Jung So-min have confirmed or denied anything.
Good for them. They're allowed to have their privacy. Did you find any fun behind-the-scenes tidbits?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Apparently, Jung Hae and Jung So-min were total goofballs on set. They even had water fights.
I love that. It sounds like they had a lot of fun together.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
And the drama itself included some interesting Korean cultural details, like the superstition about itchy ears, meaning someone's talking about you. Oh, and there were a bunch of behind-the-scenes clips shared online, so fans got to see even more of their interactions.
Oh, that's great. Those little peeks behind the scenes always make the drama feel more real somehow. Okay, so wrapping things up, what are our final thoughts on Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min in Love Next Door?
Well, I think it's clear that they're both really talented actors. They've both had successful careers, and they each brought something special to this drama.
Yeah, it's like their paths were leading them to this point. You know, Jung Hae-in with his romantic leading man image and Jung So-min with her ability to play these complex and vulnerable characters. It all came together in Love Next Door.
And that shared clan background is a neat little detail, too, even if it's just a coincidence.
I know it's probably nothing, but it's fun to imagine them bonding over that little connection.
For sure. And obviously having the same director and writer as Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha probably had a big impact on the overall vibe of the drama.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people went in expecting a certain type of story and they weren't disappointed. So the question is, did it work? Did the will they, won't they? And the added element of Seok-ryu's cancer diagnosis enhance the story or detract from it? It's definitely a conversation starter.
Totally. Some people loved it, some people didn't. It's all subjective. And, it's great that people are still talking about it and hoping for another collaboration between Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min.
Yeah, that's always a good sign. It means they left a lasting impression. Okay, so before we go, I want to leave our listeners with some food for thought. What is it about on-screen chemistry that makes it so captivating? Why do we care so much if two actors seem like they have a spark?
It's a good question. It's like this intangible thing that you can't quite put your finger on. But when it's there, you know it.
Right. And how much do you think an actor's past roles influence how we see them in new roles? Like, do we bring all that baggage with us as viewers?
That's a good point. I think we definitely do to some extent.
Right.
It's hard to separate an actor from their previous work, especially if they've played a particularly iconic role.
It makes you wonder if that ever gets frustrating for actors. Like if they want to be seen as this new character, but people are still stuck on their old characters.
Yeah, I'm sure it could be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Okay, and one last question for our listeners. What are your thoughts on using serious health conditions as plot devices in romantic dramas?
Do they add depth or do they feel exploitative?
It's a tough one. I think it can go either way. It depends on how it's handled, but it definitely adds an element of drama.
No pun intended.
Huh.
But seriously, it's something to think about. How do these narratives affect our perceptions of illness and love and life in general?
Big questions indeed. If anyone wants to dig a little deeper, I highly recommend checking out some of Jung Hae-in and Jung So-min's other work. It's amazing to see how they've grown as actors over time.
Totally. And maybe rewatch some key scenes from Love Next Door. It's always fun to revisit things with fresh eyes. You might notice something you didn't see before.
And of course, the internet is a treasure trove of fan theories and discussions about the drama. So,
Yeah.
yeah, don't be afraid to go down that rabbit hole.
It's all part of the fun. Well, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.